Let's bring in Evan Solomon. Evan is a CTV News political contributor and G0 media publisher. Evan, so the Premier's meeting occurred this week. We just heard about some disagreements about energy. Doug Ford has suggested cutting off energy to the US. Francois Legault says he isn't looking to do that. What do you make of all that?
Panic. That's what it is. We haven't even started negotiation, and the cat is amongst the pigeons, which is what Pierre Trudeau once said to the premiers. But this time the cat is not from Pierre Trudeau when they're negotiating. It is from Donald Trump. And Donald Trump's threat for these punitive 25% tariffs, which he's done not just to Canada, but to Mexico and others, has gone from let's have a unified response to holy crap, how are we going to respond? Doug Ford coming out saying, you know what, you need our energy. We will potentially cut off your energy supply. The Globe and Mail reporting that export taxes on very key commodities and resources might be on the table. That had some premiers saying, like Scott Moe in Saskatchewan, no, we do not want an export tax. Or Alberta's premier saying, we don't want that kind of export tax because that will hurt our province. So everybody is now worried because this is an existential threat to all their economies. So it's good to see the premiers talking. It's good to see the premiers trying to coordinate, but so far there is no coordinated response. You know, what is fascinating about this is how public it all is. Remember, the last time during Trump 1.0, when Trump used something called 232 tariffs. Those were tariffs under national security to slam the Canadian aluminum and steel industries. The federal government had a very coordinated response to that. This time, Trump's not even in power yet. He's just threatening. And now publicly, people are looking at, wait, are we going to do something? Are we going to do nothing? Are we going to hit back hard? Are we going to start a trade war? What commodities? So it's in disarray right now. That helps Donald Trump. Because when you're negotiating with another country and you've got 10 different positions on the table, you certainly have an advantage. And here's Mr. Trump, who was the man of the year in Time. And there he was at the stock market ringing the bell yesterday, feeling very strong. But the one rule about negotiating is don't negotiate till you actually get to the table.
Yeah, we've been hearing a lot about this Team Canada response, and certainly after the meeting, they all seem to be singing from the same songbook and talking about this Team Canada response. But as you've mentioned, they all have their own individual interests in this. And we've also seen things like Alberta coming out and announcing its own border plan, despite the fact that borders is under the jurisdiction of the federal government. How much longer do you see this Team Canada approach going forward? Do you think it's strong, or do you think it's going to start fracturing as we kind of get further down the line and closer to these tariffs coming to fruition?
I just want to read a quote there. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith had said, quote, and I think this was quoted in the Globe and Mail in an interview, I will tell you that if the federal government imposes export taxes, she said, they will have a national unity crisis at the same time as they have a crisis with our biggest relationship in America. So you got a premier already saying that this could have a national unity crisis at the same time as our biggest trading partner, a guy who's taunting the prime minister as the governor of the 51st state, a guy that is adamant about hurting our economy with high tariffs, which, by the way, will hurt Americans. That's now clearly there's no Team Canada. If it was Team Canada, not one of the key players doesn't say this is a national unity crisis. So Team Canada is in disarray. And there's probably two reasons. One, this is happening very quickly. And each province like Ontario, is deeply concerned. They cannot absorb this kind of hit. It would be devastating for Doug Ford, looking potentially forward to an election. But secondly, these are premiers that see Justin Trudeau 20% or 20 points behind in the polls as a potential lame duck, and that they don't necessarily want to hitch their wagon to someone who they don't believe Donald Trump respects. When Donald Trump's chief advisor and the head of the DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, Elon Musk, tweets out that Justin Trudeau is going to be gone soon, maybe they don't want to hitch their wagon to that guy. So, I'd be very hesitant to use the term Team Canada in name only. I should say, Mr. Trudeau and Chrystia Freeland have always done a good job dealing with these threats in the past, but the past is not prologue. Donald Trump is more experienced, more resolute. He has a much more hardened team, and he's deeply committed to these tariffs.
So what does Justin Trudeau do now? I mean, he will be the Prime Minister when these tariffs likely come into effect. We heard the Premier of Ontario say that these are coming on January 20th or January 21st, Inauguration Day or the day after. These tariffs are coming, and he was very, very definite about that. So what does Justin Trudeau have to do now to sort of regroup, rally the troops, get the support of the premiers and solidify that so that they can respond to Donald Trump's tariff threat? Because we know that he enjoys and will play into a lack of a unified response.
You got to do this, first of all, not like this. Having the premiers talk to people like this, and all present radically different views and plans. Justin Trudeau needs to coordinate this. You can't have Quebec and Ontario at odds, Alberta saying one thing, Saskatchewan saying a different thing, then the East Coast saying something else. Justin Trudeau needs to meet with the premiers and say, look, we are going to, as we did in Trump 1.0, when we renegotiated NAFTA, we are going to have a coordinated, specific, targeted response that we think will impact the Americans. Now, again, Donald Trump will be immune to that, and that will cause a trade war. But there are over 30, 35 states that depend on Canada as their number one trading partner. And this trade war and tariffs will hurt them as well. So Justin Trudeau's got to work with governors and members of Congress and communicate that message to the premiers to say we are better together and we will fall if we are apart. But so far, right now, I would suggest that this is the farthest thing from a unified response. Just because the premiers got together at a long table to discuss it doesn't mean there's unity. And the final, Dominic LeBlanc is not wrong, by the way. Don't start negotiating till you know what's on the table, right? And that's not happening till January 20th. So, everyone, first rule of politics, don't panic.
All right, CTV News political contributor and G0 media publisher Evan Solomon. We have to leave it there, but we appreciate your perspective. Thank you.
Thanks.